and appreciate your support as we continue our series of Day in the Life of an Adjuster. And we're is a cooler day today. Woke up to 27 degrees in North Carolina. Um, Definitely not what I like because I like warmer weather. So yeah, a little bit cooler today, but still beautiful. Sun is out. I can't complain about the weather because North Carolina weather is normally just gorgeous, gorgeous weather. So thank you for know if you can hear me. I'm trying out a new microphone to see if I can get better sound when I'm on the road. So let me know if the sound is good so that I know. Just let me know in the chat if the sound is good. Appreciate it. If you can hear me fine, then this microphone is working. So definitely let me know. I'd hate to be talking all this time when so, I mean, somebody, there's somebody in here, so just tell me if you can hear me. You can hear me. If you can hear me, or tell me there's no sound, or nobody can hear me. So can you hear me? Can you hear me? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me, so I don't waste my time talking to you when you can't hear me, because I'm trying out a new microphone. I would love to see if somebody would give me some feedback to let me know if they can hear me. All right, let me know if you can hear me. I'm using a new microphone, and I want to make sure you guys can hear me. So put something in the chat. Let me know if the sound is good, and then we can keep chatting about our day. All right, can anybody hear me? Woo! Anybody hear me? Not many people live in this morning, so I'm an early bird. So I don't know. I'm up early when you guys may not be. So let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Put a note in the chat. Let me know. I'm trying a new microphone out to see if you guys can hear me better while I'm doing these lives. And let me know if you can hear me. Maybe I'll put a note in the chat too. I don't know if I can see anything. Put the note in the file, or a note in the chat if you can see me or hear me. All right, can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Let me know if you guys can hear me. Sounds like there may not be a way for you guys to hear me. Let's see. All right, let's see. I'm going to start a poll. All right. Good. Wow. Thank you. Glad somebody responded to tell me they hear me. I've been on here for 5 minutes, and nobody's telling me whether they can hear me or not. All righty. So, how are you guys doing today? Where are you calling from? Where are you listening from? Not where you're calling from, but where you're listening from. Welcome. Welcome to my live. Yeah, going to live stream a little bit today just to talk about my day. I'm using a new microphone, so I'm hoping the sound is good for you guys so that maybe I can keep using this microphone and give you a better and clearer sound as we're driving down the road, because I'm talking away from the camera a fair bit, and I wanted to make sure that you guys are getting clear sound and it sounds good compared to the last time maybe I was living and you heard something different. So let me know in the chat if the sound is good. All right, so today I got started. So did you work in Springfield, Missouri ever? No, I've never worked in Missouri. Never worked in Missouri. Been through that area quite a bit, but never been there. I was called up there, or called over there for a catastrophe once, but then the fee schedule wasn't really good. So No, I didn't work there. I've worked in, let's see, several states. I've worked in Kentucky. I've worked in Indiana, Ohio, Maryland, Delaware, Washington, Pennsylvania, Louisiana, Florida, South Carolina, Georgia. I'm trying to think if there was any others. Yeah, that's pretty much it as far as I can remember of where I've worked and run daily claims or catastrophe work. So it's always great. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about adjusting is that you can make the entire United States your workplace, all depending on whether you want to get those licenses or not. That's going to be the key to it. Passed and received my license in adjusting, was having a hard time finding a job with no experience. Any recommendations? Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for joining me. Congratulations on passing the exam. That's just the beginning. I think there's a misconception. A lot of people think that because you just get your license, that all of a sudden you're going to get hundreds and hundreds of calls, and everybody's going to be so excited for you just as much as you are as excited about getting your license. Because I remember the day I got my license, and I was so excited, and I was thinking, what the coolest! I'm now an insurance adjuster, and now I'm going to get tons of work, and no, it didn't happen. It took a while. So what I did was I learned from a couple of my mentors that persistence is going to get you work. And the persistence is going to be when you're contacting firms, and firms are the people that you get work from, and you are persistently calling them, and you are trying to get yourself listed on the rosters of at least 30 of these firms out there in the world, especially when you're new. People think, oh, that's ridiculous. You don't need to be on that many. Well, you might get lucky. You might have only applied to 5, and one of those actually had a need in your area. So, yeah, stories like that happen all the time where people will get pretty lucky. Same here. I got my license back in June. I never got a job yet. Yeah, so basically, yeah, I totally hear you guys, but that's not how it works. People are not going to call you for work. You're going to have to pursue them, especially when you're new. You have to remember, when you're new, there are hundreds, if not almost 1,000 adjusters more qualified than you to do the job that they're looking for. And so what you have to do is you've got to stand out. Now, the greatest opportunity for you is if a big event happens, and you guys are actually in a good time because you're coming up into a new year. You're coming into storm season, and storm season has a tendency to hire a lot of new adjusters because big events occur and they need lots of help. But if you are not prepared to go, meaning to go on a catastrophe, then you're going to die when you go on that catastrophe. And what I mean by that is you're going to be overwhelmed. You're not going to get anything done. You're going to have endless problems with software. You're going to have endless problems with file reviewers because you won't be able to get a file turned in because it just won't be up to their standards. So my recommendation is to not stop at just getting a license, but to continue in getting yourself marketable to be available for firms to recognize you as a skilled adjuster, even with no experience. And what I mean by this is that when you walk into a job, let's say you walk into a marketing job, okay, and you're applying for that position and you are doing an interview, and the guy says, well, you don't have any experience. And you're like, oh, but I got a degree in marketing. And they say, well, that's a great start, but we need you to have related skills. Even if you don't have any experience working for somebody, we want you to have related skills. So then that would be when you come out and say, oh, well, I campaigned for this political opponent here. I got on his team and we were marketing him. I volunteered for that while I was promoting him when he was running for candidacy. And I have an endorsement from him. He wrote me a letter and said how much he appreciated my marketing and helping him be a success in his career. And then you could say, hey, I worked for, I volunteered for this or I volunteered for that. Anyways, you get the point, is that you have maybe not work experience, but you have related experience. Now, where that comes into play is where you might take a course that teaches you about beginning adjusting. Okay, and they have lots of those courses with different firms, and the firms are the ones who are going to eventually hire you. So if you take that course through like a beginning in adjusting, or get your certifications for like State Farm, and take State Farm Property and, well, they call it Fire, but State Farm Fire and State Farm Auto certifications from one of these big firms, then now they know you've been trained by them and you have a potential to be a good source of someone that they could call upon and submit to work for State Farm, because they know your training. They know you received good training through them. So that's the way you got to go to build your resume. Is now, so now you'll be able to tell that. You'll be able to tell that to the firms and say, "Hey, I've got this experience," or tell this to the carriers. Then you'll have an opportunity to get hired. As far as a W-2, yes, I do have a Discord. Please look in the link in my description. There's a link there. I think it's called Daniel the Adjuster. I think you have to look it up, but look it up in my description of any video that I have on my YouTube channel on Daniel the Adjuster on YouTube, and you will see a link to my Discord. And we've got a ton of people. We got like over 400 people in there now chatting, and so many great opportunities for you to learn from people who are experienced, who are new. Lots of Xactimate solutions there, product descriptions, where to find work, networking with other buddies. Maybe you can even meet somebody in your area. You can ride along with them. I mean, it's great. Discord's totally awesome. I built that because I wanted you guys to have a place to chat and talk to other adjusters, and it's worked out really well. So yeah, so as a W-2 adjuster, I'm not skilled with that. I don't know enough about that. I would not be a W-2 adjuster, just personally. I would definitely do a 1099 in a heartbeat. Now, you're probably saying, well, I don't want to move, I don't want to travel, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that. Okay, I get it. But you're going to limit yourself to a very slow income. Like I met a guy the other day who has been 30 years as an adjuster, as a W-2 adjuster, and he's happy now. But, you know, I kind of challenged him and I said, what was the first 5 to 10 years like? And Discord's basically a chat group for people to talk about, like to talk to each other. You have a username, and then you get to chat on a chat board. Awesome, yeah. The Discord, every adjuster should be on this Discord, because it is truly a vital help to be able to talk to other adjusters about your troubles. It's not just me that has knowledge. There's tons of people that have knowledge about adjusting, and they might be right in your state. They may be able to help you with the laws for your state too, or licensing. Tons of licensing questions, solutions, all sorts of things. I love it. I just love it. I get on there very, very little because I'm actually quite busy. But at the beginning, I was on there, and people are just like really excited. Good. Glad you joined the Discord. Yeah, the Discord's awesome. You'll love it, guys. So don't hesitate for a second. See, and the reason why I say that is because when I was first beginning as an adjuster, there were on catadjuster.org and I think a couple others. These were places where you can go to find work. They actually had forums. They were called forums back then. And they all kind of dissipated. But back then, that's where I went to get all the source of information. And that's where I met my 3 mentors that were basically 3 adjusters who were willing to take a phone call from me when I was in trouble, just needed some quick advice, and we became friends. And so it was just totally awesome. It was totally awesome. Yeah, so it's totally open. It's free, guys. No charge to the Discord. Just click on the link and it'll join in. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so I had a forum that I was going to back then and asked all the questions that I had and got so many answers from so many people. It was really cool. All right, well, especially during hurricanes, watch the weather. Once you see this coming in, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that's what I would do. It's kind of funny. I remember I've got a couple free, like Stormer sites is free, I think. Hailreport.com is free. And what they do is they send me a report every day for hail that has happened all across the whole country. And it's the coolest thing because I remember in the early days, and I still do it now, is I'd watch this storm and it was like this massive event that happened in, let's say, Colorado. Well, then I would call all my firms and I would say, oh, I just saw that a 4-inch hail just hit in Colorado and I wanted to let you know that I'm available to deploy. And they would go, we don't have any event of a hail event. And I go, well, if you ever get notification from your carriers that, you know, they need somebody, I'm ready to go. Well, here's the thing, guys. That's kind of like stock insider information. So now you're getting the information faster than the firms do, even before they're contacted by their carrier to tell them that there's work out there, that they need people. Well, if you've talked to the deployment manager and you said, and you called up and said, I hear there's a storm in Colorado, I'm ready to go, got my bags packed, ready to go. And, you know, and then they look your profile up and you go, yeah, he's on our roster. Okay, man, that's so cool. I'm glad you're ready. Well, all of a sudden now you've put your name as the first person on the list ready to deploy if they happen to get an event. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. Like, there's not always an event for every single hailstorm because some of the local adjusters can handle it. And the only time they bring other people in is when those local adjusters get swamped. So let's say storm event happens and they get 500 claims from the carrier in one day. Well, a local adjuster, I don't care if you got 3 or 4, they can't handle 500 claims. So all of a sudden they're swamped. Well, guess what? They're looking for people that are willing to come. And a lot of times they look for people that are closer, you know, like next state over. You know, they might locate some people in Texas. But hey, if you've already told them, I'm willing to go, well, they've already got one guy. What an easy phone call for them to say, okay, yeah, I'll give you 100 claims. You go to Colorado, when can you be there? And you say, I'll be there in 24 hours. And, or whatever it is, you know, how far you live away, depending on it. They normally give you 48 hours to get there. So it's easy to, you know, jump in a car and drive there if you need to, even if it's a couple-day drive. Well, here's the thing. They dropped you 100 claims. You've already got a chance to start scheduling some. So then after your 48 hours of driving or whatever you've done to get there, you find your hotel and you got people scheduled for the next day. You're seeing 3 to 5 claims the next day, and bam, you're making bucks, man. You get 100 claims on a hail claim, and you're looking at 50K, guys, worth of money coming in, and that's, you know, nothing to sniffle at. You want those deployments, but you got to pursue them. And people don't understand this whole thing about like sitting around waiting for the phone to ring. I hear so many people. In fact, you got to understand, I got a YouTube channel. Okay, over 11,000 people watching me right now, and I get so many comments of people saying they never call me, they never reach out. I'm never getting deployed. This is a dud career. You know, why am I wasting my time here? I'm never getting deployed. And so I write them back and I go, so how many rosters are you on? And they'll say 2, 3, something like that. And then I'll say, when's the last time you called them? A couple months ago. And I go, well, there's your problem. I say, number one, you don't have enough rosters. You're not telling hundreds of people. You know, these deployment managers change all the time. So you got to call and make sure you're talking to the same person that's going to deploy you. And so you get a name, you get a phone number, you put down a date that you call them, and you call them every week, especially during storm season, or especially during now when we're getting into hail season. They're already getting hail in Colorado and I saw one this morning, I think from Kentucky or something. Yeah, the big line of storms that came across. This big storm that's coming across the East Coast. Very possible that I might get some hail here. We got a big storm coming in tomorrow. And, they're talking 60-mile-an-hour winds. Well, when something comes that fast and the weather is 27 degrees in the morning, and maybe that sun is warm, or whatever, it's one or the other. Whatever the area is, it's the opposite. Well, that's violent storms and violent wind and potentially hail season. So I love these storms. I watch the weather every single day. I watch the weather. I get weather reports because I want to know if there's something out there that just was huge that I can get an opportunity to go and help out. My goal this year is to deploy to as many catastrophes as possible. Just to kind of jumpstart my year's income, because I had a really kind of an average year last year, but then I ended up getting deployed to Hurricane Helene and Milton in Florida and in South Carolina, so it turned out to be a really good end of the year. But the first of the year really sucked, and sometimes that happens. So now you got to start pursuing for those additional opportunities, because they don't always come around, and you're fighting against all the other adjusters out there. They're trying to get that same deployment. So kind of look at it this way, is that you're fighting for the same positions for a lot of people. Everybody wants to go on those catastrophes. Everybody wants to make the big money, but not everybody does get that chance. So pursue it like you want it, so that when you get it, you start getting that great experience. And then you work for the firm, you get a great recommendation. They see how you work under pressure. Your files were turned in awesome and on time, and and your file reviewers are liking you, or even saying, I don't know how you're turning in stuff so fast. I had one file reviewer in Florida. I turned in 30 claims in 1 week, and they were good. Like, she told me they were done very well, and she just loves getting my work because she can pretty much approve it as soon as it goes in. She didn't barely have to look at it. And so she just says, man, you are rolling. You are rolling. And they were all wind claims. We're buying every roof and, some siding and fences and whatever. And, once you learn your skill, then you're rolling, and you're just pumping them out. And 5 is my magic number. So if I can do 5 in 1 day and do 6 days a week, I take Sundays off. That's an incredible week of incredible money on a big event like a hail or a big wind event. So yeah, there's something about cat work. It's great. Doesn't happen all the time, but it's certainly the cream of the crop when it comes to the best of the best when you get deployed for those. So put in the chat, guys, 1, if you are an adjuster, and 2, if you are not an adjuster. I'd love to hear if we got any new adjusters here that are wanting to be one, but not adjusters. But I'm happy for all the adjusters that are here too. But a 1 in the chat if you are an adjuster, a 2 in the chat if you are not. I'd love to hear from you guys to see what's your status. Because that's the key, guys, is that we want to constantly grow our skill level and always be making ourselves better on our resume, better in our training and our skills, so that we're ready for any event that would come up. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my day. Today was a light day. I only have 1 claim, but this claim was an hour and a half away from my house. And yes, you do get those that you got to drive a long way to, and that's just part of being an adjuster. You're going to work a radius of typically an hour and a half up to probably 2 hours away from your home, one way. That's going to be the circle that firm is going to be hoping that you're going to work. Now, it's not always the case, so it depends on the population. So like if I was in Houston, I am not going to work an hour and a half away from my house because I got 6 million people within, 10 miles. So, or whatever it is, 40 miles across the city. Yeah, so I don't have to travel an incredible amount, but I might be sitting through some pretty significant traffic in that area that's going to take a lot longer for me to get to those locations. So yeah, so in an area like North Carolina where everything is really spread out, um, there are times where I have to drive very long distances. And yeah, so you're from Fayetteville. Okay, I've been trying to get on firms locally, but no luck yet. Yeah, so don't look for local ones. Firms are nationwide. So get on catadjuster.org, and there's it's catadjuster.org/careers, and there's a list of jobs available, and then also a list of firms on the right side for current adjusting firms. And they are nationwide firms, a lot of those. Some of them are local, but I don't work for anybody local. I mean, all my firm, one's in Louisiana, one's in Florida, one's in Texas. So they're not local, but they give me local work because they talk to the carrier, and the carrier says, oh yeah, we've got some claims in North Carolina. Do you have somebody there? And here's the cool part about how it works with adjusting firms is that depending on where you live, that firm may not have anybody in that area. And so when you sign up to that roster and you tell them, yeah, I'm in Podunk, USA, and you may be in a hot spot for 10 different firms and 10 different insurance carriers that all want to be handling claims in Podunk, USA. And you might just be slammed with claims because no one else lives there. No other adjusters live there. And you're the prime guy that everybody goes to. So that worked out for me when I was in Maryland, because Maryland was a nasty place. And I was working Baltimore claims, and nobody wanted to work Baltimore because of the high crime. So I was actually staying very busy when I lived up in Frederick, Maryland, and driving into Baltimore to handle daily claims because no one wanted to handle them. So stuff like that too. You may be in an area where nobody wants to live. Too expensive, crime rate's too high, whatever, but you can find work. And so you always want to be pursuing that. So if you're not working, there's a reason, okay? There's a reason. It's either your resume is not impressive enough, meaning you haven't done enough on your resume to make it look like you really want to work for somebody. So that would be something where you want to increase that. You want to increase that presentation, meaning get lots of continue education, start putting those on your list, and working through the extracurricular, like taking some certifications, taking your level 1 and level 2 certifications for Xactimate to make sure that you can show that you are skilled in Xactimate. That's a primary course that many people forget and realize that it's not important, but it is. Learning Xactimate requires getting level 1 and level 2. I do not know a whole lot of people that are not successful in adjusting that don't have level 1 and level 2 certification, because that's how they got in. Because you're telling the firm, because I have this certification that was given by the creator of Xactimate, and you passed both tests, you're now telling every firm that you apply to, I know Xactimate inside out and backwards, because the exam from the creator of Xactware, I passed 2 of those. And trust me, when I could go around flashing that I passed level 1 and level 2 certification on Xactimate, that's how I got jobs. People said, oh, you know Xactimate. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I've got a prep course that I started on my YouTube channel, guys, like 40 hours of videos, well, 35 hours of videos. It's a course that you guys can take that will prep you for this Xactimate exam. And I walk you through Xactimate like a baby and just teach you every single thing you need to know in Xactimate that will help you pass that test. If you are not investing in stuff like this to make yourself better, then you're no different than the average Joe on the street. And I hate to say it, but people are going to overlook you on the resumes. When a firm is looking to hire somebody, they're going through their resumes, and that's the only thing that they have to see whether you are worthy of being on their roster, because they want the best. They want the people that are going to be reliable and good. There's no sit down interview anymore. There's no phone call interview. I mean, I hate to say it, but that doesn't exist anymore. Everything now is what's on your resume. And so if you got on your resume level 1, level 2, Xactimate certified, State Farm certification, Liberty Mutual certification, you won't have USAA because you got to have a bunch of years experience on that in adjusting before you can get that. But then you've got all these continuing education, like you got your licenses early and you just kept them up. Well, every 2 years you've got to do continuing education and take these courses. Well, you put those courses at the bottom of your resume. That's additional training that you got when you renewed your licenses. So I put that on my resume every year. Every single year that I take continuing education, I add the next 8 courses or 10 courses I had to take and put those at the bottom of my resume. Now my resume is 3.5 pages long of every CAT event I went to, every daily claim that I handled in different states, and all my continuing education, certifications, the amount of claims that I handle of each loss, my experience with fire claims or hurricane or tornado or sinkhole or anything. I mean, just put it all on. And you will start, as you grow your resume will start to look very impressive. So that when somebody gets to your resume, they don't even have to meet you. They just go, dang, this guy's got some experience. He knows what he's doing. He's handled a bunch of claims. He's got all the certifications that he needs. This is the kind of guy we want on our roster. And that's how you build it. Now, I didn't start out that way, but I got a chance. Somebody deployed me with a small firm in Texas, and I'm telling you, small firm, and I got deployed to Abilene, Texas to work a hailstorm for my first CAT. And I only got 25 claims, and it was the most miserable experience I ever had in my life. I was pulling my hair out. That's why I'm bald. It was miserable. It was hard. It was so frustrating. It was so stressful. I didn't know the program as well as I should have. And back then I was really green. I don't think I had level 1 and level 2 certification at that time. But I just got a freak chance on a roster because I kept calling them and bugging them. I saw that there was a bunch of hail and I wanted to go. And so they sent me and gave me 25 claims. Now, the cool thing about it was that I did not have to, no one on my resume ever called that firm to ask how I did. They never asked. No one ever called and said, how did you do on that Abilene CAT, the hail claim? They just saw that, I got deployed to a CAT and I handled 25 claims. I mean, as far as any firm was concerned, I was CAT worthy now. I had the experience to go. And so I got that opportunity. Can I work as an adjuster only in the weekends? I can't afford to quit my job right now. You're welcome. That's a good question. Very good question. I've never heard anybody doing it. And mainly it's because your goal as an adjuster is to always be trying to take as many jobs as you can to try and get yourself to the point where you can quit your day job. And I did know one guy. He wasn't working, but he tried to do it part-time, and he got burnt out. He basically got burnt out because he was only getting 1 or 2 claims a week, and he was frustrated because he couldn't afford to keep doing that for the sporadic nature of the claims. Now, what I mean by that, there's a couple of ways you could do it. This is how I think you could do it, is that if in the summertime you could do it. So let's say you work 9 to 5. You could go inspect that house in the evening if it was daytime, like if it was in the summertime, which means if you had to get on a roof, you still got light. In the wintertime, you wouldn't be able to do it. And the problem that you'll run into in the wintertime is that you can't put off everybody on the weekends. say you get a claim in on Monday, you can't put that off until Saturday, because they look at your queue and they can look under your username, under your Xactimate username, and find out how many claims you have active right now. And what I mean by that means in progress, not claims that have been closed or uploaded or completed, but in progress. So if you are sitting there with 2 claims in your queue for that firm, and then they go look up your username and find out you only have 2 claims open, and you've put off that claim for 5 days before you can inspect it, that's going to shoot you in the foot really fast. So the reason why I found myself at the beginning getting work, actually being successful as a daily adjuster, is, and I recommend this for everybody when you're getting started. So this is not a, something that I would change. Hey Jaden, how's it going? Welcome. Yeah, this is something that I don't change for anybody else that I tell. I tell everybody this: when you're starting, you want to do everything to the max. Everything as high quality, as quickly as possible, and to your best ability at the beginning, unbelievably fast. Okay? And what I mean by fast is that your claims come in by email. Okay, so obviously when you're sleeping, you can't do anything. But let's say you get a claim in at 8 o'clock in the morning. One pops in. Okay, I got my phone, I got a notification, I got an email, and I pop on it, I get on the phone, and I've called that insured within 15 minutes of receiving that claim. I've called them, left them a note in the file, like an exact analysis, saying, hey, called insured, left a message. Or called them, set an appointment, inspecting tomorrow. And I push hard about seeing that claim within 24 to 48 hours of receiving that claim. Now, I know this works, guys, is because when I was working for Alacrity, or back then it was Worley was judging the adjusters quarterly by performance reviews. And performance reviews were comparing you to every other adjuster in their entire firm across the whole United States. And we had these little quarterly conference calls, and then they would recognize the best adjusters. And the best adjusters were the ones who were inspecting the fastest, contacting the fastest, and closing their claims the same day. And a lot of times, the fastest. Okay? And the reason being is it makes their firm look fantastic to the carrier, and it gets the carrier more claims. Okay, so you got to remember, performance is how these firms are getting work. And if they are performing well, they got a bunch of adjusters that are just blasting it out and doing a wonderful job, then it makes the firm look wonderful to the carrier, and so the carrier will give them more work. And so because I was doing a good job, they recognized me as being one of their best adjusters. Now, where that came into play is I did that for several years. And then I'm telling you, it was really inconvenient because I was getting some claims in at 8 o'clock at night and still calling the insured. So I wanted to call them within 15 minutes of receiving that claim in my email box. And I was scheduling as quick as I could. Even if I had to book up 3, 4, 5, 6 claims in one day, I was trying to get those things within 24 to 48 hours inspected. And then here, having to work till midnight sometimes to close all those claims because they had to be turned in the same day. And midnight is your cutoff. As soon as it's 12:01, it's late. Okay, so I was working till 11 o'clock sometimes, finishing up all these claims to make sure that I had them turned in the same day, and it gained me favor. Now, the coolest part that I can look back and see is that when I called up that firm and started to say, I would really like to start doing some conservative work, those managers were great work for us for the last couple of years. We'd be more than happy to have you go on a catastrophe with us. And still to this day, and I'm not here to brag, guys. Please don't see it as that. I'm just telling you how it works. I have been consistent with my product for 7, 8 years now. Very, very consistent with my product. 9 years going on with the same. And now the firms are saying, any catastrophe that you want to go out on, you're first call. You're first out. They're putting me out first. And I had several managers tell me that I'm their first call. If I tell them I want to go, I'm first out. And so that's a very nice blessing to have gained that reputation with the firms, that they just trust you. They just know you're consistent with your product. You're consistent with what you say you're going to do. You don't have a whole lot of file reviews, and you'll get better. I mean, I had a ton of file reviews at the beginning, but over time, you get to be to the point where you've learned. I've used my macros. My macros are very consistent, meaning I am writing the same estimate every single time with a carrier because I've labeled my macros based on the carrier, so that when I'm working a universal claim, I just got to click universal drywall repair, and boom, it's exactly how Universal wants that drywall repair done every single time. I'm not making those stupid mistakes, writing in and painting the wall twice when they only paint for once. It's just because you're trying to do it from memory. But as you work for many different carriers, it's really hard to keep up that consistency of knowing what exactly do those carriers want, those specific things that those carriers want for repairs. You got to save those in a macro so that you don't make mistakes again. And so the macros are life-changing. I sell those macros, guys. Look at my link in my description. $49 for over 400 macros, and that's going to make you flawless when you're writing estimates. And sure, you can customize them to any carrier. So like if I don't have Allstate in there and you're working for them, well then once you have, I've got some general, what do you call them? Not universal, because Universal is my insurance company, but generic macros in there as well when I get a new carrier, and I throw them out and I'll watch the carrier guidelines and see if they have some specific things. But if I get a new insurance carrier, I'll save that generic macro, change the things that are in it, the small details, and then label it Allstate drywall repair. And I know that every single time then, from that day forward, whenever Allstate, do a claim for Allstate and they have drywall repair, I'm going to always have it right. And so you can't make mistakes if you're using something. All you do is copy and pasting, and that's what the macros are. You're copying and pasting a set of line items into an estimate. So, for instance, if you're writing a roof, and there's 15 to 20 different line items in a roof. Sometimes those items are on a roof, sometimes they're not. Well, I put all the items that are on a roof, drop those into one macro, and then you just have to go down one line item at a time, and then change the number of how many vents are on the roof, or delete the turbine vent that's not there, or add one for a satellite dish, or take out the satellite dish that's not there. And then go all the way down to the bottom, and boom, you got your roof estimates done. You haven't forgot anything because it was all there to begin with, and now you're just deciding whether it's on the roof or not, and then you're turning it in. And you can write a roof estimate in 5 minutes. So why would you not want to use tools like that make things super fast and then flawless as far as errors? So when you turn it in, you're not getting any errors unless you're stupid and put down 6 vents, 5. And they're going to be going through the pictures, and they go, I don't count 5 vents. Why'd you put 6 on there? And then you get a file review because you put it on wrong. So, but if you are paying attention to those details and you're counting them when you're on a roof, then you're doing great. You can't make mistakes. All right, let's see. When do you go through for your Xactimate training? Or where did you go? Oh, okay. I actually did my Xactimate training. Let me think back. I think I did it through Adjuster Pro is what I did. And then I did the level 1 and level 2 by myself. Okay, so I self-studied that. So I went and took a course through Adjuster Pro, and that's what it was. I took it through Adjuster Pro, and then shortly after that, I got deployed to Abilene for that hail claim, and I didn't know the program worth a hoot. So that's how it got me in trouble, is that I had not taken the level 1 and level 2 at that time. And so therefore I really didn't have the full understanding of the program. I only had the basic knowledge stuff, and I screwed up. And I couldn't write estimates. They were always wrong. My file reviewer hated me, and he told me that. He told me I was the worst adjuster out there. I remember his name. His name was Randy. I'll never forget him. He was miserable. If Randy, if you're listening, you're a horrible person. But it gave me aspirations to become much better than Randy, and that is to be able to handle conflict and handle people a whole lot better and a whole lot nicer. Because there's no reason to be rude to people. There's a lot of bad things that happen, but there's no reason to be rude. No reason at all. All right, so can I ask me about weekends? I already answered that one. I just the exact one earlier. How steep is the steep when it comes to climbing a roof? Well, that changes over time. So, a good question. Yeah, I would say what changes is your flexibility of your calves, meaning how far you can bend your foot. That changes over time the more roofs you climb. So when I was first climbing, I was scared to death of probably a 912. 912 to me was kind of freaky because my ankles were not used to bending that much, calves and ankles. And so I used a rope and a harness and tied it to a tree almost on every roof I climbed. And it was good. I mean, it was a good way to learn until you became more confident. Now, it did take more time, so your inspections take a lot longer when you're throwing a rope over the roof. And yeah, so you just add in a little more time to do your inspections. And the homeowners don't care if you use a rope. You know, you're going to attach it to their deck or to their front porch post or to your, the tailgate of your car, or, whatever you got to tie it to. And most of the time there's a tree on the other side of the house or something like that. I've even tied it to an air conditioner one time, which was the last resort. I wouldn't recommend it because you can pull those things up. It actually did. It did actually move the air conditioner a little bit, but I needed something because it was a freaky roof. So yeah, you do what you got to do, but it's not always the best scenario. Anyway, so yeah, so now a 10-12 I can walk on like it's a 5-12. 12-12 I can stand on for, I don't know, 8 to 10 seconds, and then I jump over. I can stand there and look at things on a 12-12. I've been on a 13. Now 13 is actually kind of hard, but I've been on them, and I most of the time try and stay in the valleys, and I rarely use a rope. The only time you use a rope now is on roofs that have really bad condition shingles, meaning tons of granule loss, 20-year-old shingle, one could break off at any time. I'm going to use a rope every time on those types of roofs. And then sometimes I won't even climb them because I just tell the people that, hey, it's too dangerous to walk, I'm not doing it. And I've never had anybody come back and say, you should have got on that roof and died. I'm like, no, I'm not climbing that roof. No, if you tell them, hey, I got up as high as I could, I took pictures from the eave, I didn't feel comfortable getting on that roof, no one is going to tell you get up there and die on that roof because they can't do that. So you just do the best. You show the condition. You say, hey, can't verify damages. Drone may be needed for this, blah, blah, blah. But overall condition is very poor. Saw a few damaged shingles. You zoom in on the camera, get those pictures that you can, and show, hey, I probably estimate 20 or 30 shingles that are on this roof that look like they're damaged or broken. But shingles are way over 20 years of age, can't get on the roof and not climbing it. So, and they won't care. So, yeah, definitely. Using this stuff when you meet bad people is definitely motivating. No doubt. And here's the thing, even confrontations with the insureds are good training grounds. So for instance, let's say you get into an argument a little bit with an insured, meaning mild, you're not yelling at them. But what I'm saying is you get into these arguments and the person says, I just don't like you. I don't think you're being fair. And you can say, well, ma'am, I'm doing my best. I'm trying my best to not be biased. and try not to, hold anything, in favor of one person versus the other. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to do an honest job on both sides, represent the insured and represent the insurance company fairly. Oh, I don't think so. I think all insurance companies are ripping people off, and I think you adjusters are all crooks. And they start ramping up, and I even had somebody call me that they thought I was a racist. So I had a black lady who called me a racist, and I said, "Well, ma'am, number one, I don't appreciate that comment." So I told her that, and I said, "Number two, what part of anything that I have done has given you any indication that I'm racist?" And she said to me, she said, "You just came in with a predetermination that you weren't going to pay my claim." And I said to her, I said, "Ma'am, I'm not allowed to do that. I'm an independent adjuster. I come in unbiased, and that's my job, is to be right in the middle. And I'm sorry that you feel this way, but this is not, number one, the character of who I am. And number two, that's not how I do my job, because that's not my job. My job is not to be biased one way or the other. It's to be unbiased, right in the middle." And so anyway, so she said, "Well, I don't want you inspecting my house." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll put a note in the file, ma'am, and I hope that you find somebody who is more agreeable the next time." So sure enough, my manager calls me. She called into the carrier and claimed that I was racist. Started the fire. And this happens, guys. It happens more than it should. But she's crying wolf, calls her agent, calls the carrier, telling them that I was racist and I called them a nigger and all this stuff. I mean, just unbelievable lies. And so, then I get the call from my manager. The manager says, "Yeah, Daniel, sounds like you got a pretty live one there." And I didn't have to say anything, pretty much. He says, "I know all this stuff was lies." He said, "I've known you for 5 years, whatever." He says, "You've never had this type of complaint before, and there's no way that you are prejudiced. I don't have any problem with it all." He said, "We had a conversation with the carrier. I told them and assured them that you were, I've known you. There's no way you would have ever said anything of the sort. We'll have this reassigned to another adjuster." And anyway, so he said, "Don't worry about it." My manager said, "Don't worry about it. It'll blow over. It'll all be figured out later." And he says, "The good thing is that you have a history with us that I can stand behind and promise, to the carrier that you're not that type of person." So anyway, when a couple weeks later, my manager calls me up and he says, "You won't believe it." And I said, "What's that?" And he says, "We sent another adjuster out and she called him a racist too." And meanwhile, the whole problem is that there was no coverage for anything that we were looking at. And that was the problem. So she thought that she could insult everybody and then blame it on the race card of why, she was being turned down just because everybody was racist. So anyway, kind of funny, but sad at the same point in time. But the whole point is, if you're consistent and you do what exactly you're supposed to do, you do your job well, your reputation is going to stand for itself, and then your managers are going to stick up for you, and you don't have anything to worry about. All right, so question or comment, let me see. We all get, I had insurance states and adjusters. I'm sorry, I can't read it. I might have to read it later. We all get a bad, reputation. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right, and here's the thing. I think it's number one, the carriers are upset about us taking over the industry. So for all those people, and I hear this all the time, guys, on my lives, is people are worried that they're going to do away with IAs or do away with the independent adjuster. And I keep telling them, I said, no, we were put in place because the carrier wasn't able to build an honest estimate without having bias. We started that. Okay, we were formulated to alleviate the conflict of interest that the insurance company has. Okay, and then that's where public adjusters were born. Is then they were out there saying, hey, the insurance company is ripping people off because they're not writing honest estimates. And so a public adjuster was born and said, we're going to represent the insured and make sure that the insurance company is not ripping off the insured. Okay, this is all before independent adjusters. And so that's why public adjusters existed, was they were there to help the insured. The downside is they're charging between 10 and 20% surcharge of the amount of claim off of the insured's money that they get. So they get a $10,000 check, the insured does. Well, that public adjuster is going to take $1,000 to $2,000 off the top, 10 to 20%, and claim it as his fee for representing the insured. That, to me, is robbery. And no, I'm not in California. I'm in North Carolina. So I think that's a total ripoff that the public adjusters charge that. Well, that got around, long time ago. Lots of insureds were upset because then all of a sudden now they have $2,000 less that they can't fix their house. And so what do? They call up the insurance company and they say, how am I going to fix my house? I got $2,000 less now because the public adjuster, took his fees and you took my deductible and, wow, all this complaining. And the insurance company was just saying, well, you're the one who hired him. And it's like, well, you're the one that made me do it because you weren't writing an honest estimate. So it all became full circle. Well, all of a sudden, the independent adjuster was born. Independent adjuster came in and said, we are willing to be unbiased on both sides. We don't care what the insurance company pays, and we don't care what the insurance or the insured gets. So we're willing to write an honest estimate right in the middle. And this will eliminate the need for a public adjuster for the insured. And some people have learned that lesson. They don't hire public adjusters. And a lot of people have not learned that lesson and still hire a public adjuster, as well as having us come out too, which is ludicrous. It's just the stupidest thing in the world. And so the wonderful world of it is that now the insurance company sometimes is mad when we're out there telling them about an estimate we wrote, and we're not changing the estimate because this is what we wrote and this is what we believe is damaged on the house. I argue with carriers all the time and say, no, I'm putting this on the estimate because I believe it's there, or I'm not putting that on the estimate because that's not what I believe is there. And so there's a bunch of stuff like that I argue back and forth with. And then if they want to make me do that, then they have to put a file note or send me an email saying, I am requesting that you do this. And they'll put their name, they'll sign their name, blah, blah, blah. And the cool thing about that is that alleviates me for any lawsuits that could ever come to me later and say that I wrote a bad estimate or I wrote a dishonest estimate. So if it ever goes to court, I'm free and clear because now I got somebody who told me from the insurance company to put this on the estimate. And then the Department of Insurance, if they formulate a claim, will go against the insurance carrier for fraud or whatever and not come after me. So it's really cool. All right, so, okay, how can I get you to look at a problem that I'm having urgent? Well, I don't know what kind of problem you're having, and I certainly wouldn't look at it. I mean, that's not my job. Let's see, Dan, what potential benefits are there to have a P&C license and P&C adjuster's license in North Carolina? Last year, North Carolina passed a law allowing us to hold both. I don't know. I am not familiar with that license. Unless you're talking about a producer's license. Is that what you're talking about? The producer's license? Sorry, I got a frog in my throat. I just got home. Are you talking about a producer's license? All right, shaking my head related to insurance, and if I'd like your opinion. Well, I do a consultation call if you want to call me up. I do a 1-hour call. There's a link in my description if you want to call me up, and I can talk specifically to you for an hour. I do charge for that, but that's how I do one-on-one consultations. If you want that, I'd be certainly more than willing to help you that. See if I can help you. I don't know what it's relating to, so it'd be good for me to know what it's relating to before I do it. Yeah, so I did hear about the law, Jaden, about the about holding adjuster's license and a producer's license, and I think that's really great. I think that's a great opportunity for me. I'm thinking about it because if I hold a producer's license, then I can. It's kind of like what an agent does, but I basically then can go and solicit directly to the insurance company for adjusting work instead of going through a firm. And then if I want to open a firm of my own and hire adjusters, then I can do that through the producer's license as well. So yeah, producer's license is pretty cool. Like CAT adjusting and selling policies. Yes, sir. Yep, exactly. Yeah, so producers, I would probably get my producer's license one day. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It just gives you many different options, basically, to work both sides. In fact, there's a local adjuster that lives, who's my buddy here locally. He has his producer's license, and he does run some private insurance jobs himself, where he's actually the adjuster for directly to the firm. All right. Okay, great. It's related to the way an adjuster has interacted with me. I'm sure it's wrong and illegal, and I just want a direction on which way to go, but want to share the details. Oh, interesting. Yeah, well, you definitely don't want adjusters speaking to you, and definitely don't want them doing illegal stuff. Yeah, for sure. Option pretty, Ms. B, is that you can request another adjuster. You have that right all the time, every day of the week, to, if you don't like an adjuster that's working with you, is to call the carrier and say, I'd like another adjuster, another opinion, or I'd like to do an appraisal. I want to use the appraisal clause, which allows you to argue against the results of the claim, however they were completed with. You check with your agent on that. They'll explain the appraisal clause. But yeah, you can request another adjuster and then try and get another unbiased opinion. That's done all the time. Open your firm and I'd work with you. I have the producer's license. Yeah, I've looked into opening a firm, and it is it's hard because there's a ton of capital needed, and that's the only thing that I'm kind of short on. I don't like leaving capital just sitting out there in a retaining fund. Just, they have to do that because they want to make sure you can pay your bills and pay your people, and then you have to have a liability retainer as well. There's a ton of money. One of the guys told me it's like $1 million that you got to leave around, and I'm sure you can invest it as a corporate, like if you were an LLC or something like that, you could invest that money. But I'm not even sure you could do that because apparently it's supposed to be liquid cash, and I'm not going to just throw $1 million just sitting around doing nothing because I want to invest it. So yeah. Oh, you're welcome for your response. Oh, Allstate, the wonderful world. Yeah, that's a tough one, Miss B. I'm sorry. Allstate is a very, very hard insurance company to argue with, but you do have an appraisal clause. Yeah, no doubt. And then definitely ask for another adjuster. Allstate's a tough one. You might want to get a public adjuster for that one, and just unfortunately pay that cost, because they're going to fight very, very hard against Allstate for you, because Allstate's a tough one. Glad to help you. Sorry, I wish I could. I would love to help you more, but Allstate is just a tough insurance company. I hate to say it. Will CAT adjusting directly with the carrier allow you to get the startup capital for the firm? Will CAT adjusting directly with the carrier allow you to get startup capital for the firm? I don't know. That would take a few years, I would imagine, if you put away everything that you made. But yeah, if I look at what I would have made if I didn't have to give 40% to the firm, oh my goodness, it's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. Filed a complaint with the Department of Insurance there. Literally more than 3 different times they broke the rules. Oh yeah, well, that's Allstate. Yeah, I hate to say it. But Allstate is not my favorite insurance company. Sorry you're having all those troubles. But yeah, Squeaky wheel gets the oil is what I tell people, homeowners, when they're having problems with insurance companies, is just push hard. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you probably quit that job quick, Jaden, an agent for Allstate. Ooh, it's so funny. I laugh sometimes when I hear the slogans of these insurance companies, like State Farm is there. No, they're not. Well, they might be there, but they're not paying. And then Allstate, you're in good hands with Allstate. Now, whose hands are that? Is that the chief financial officer? He's like, yeah, you're in good hands. We're making lots of money. Oh goodness. Oh yeah, whose hands? Yeah. Uh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That all the corporate guys are all laughing to the bank because they're like, man, we got these insurance wrapped around our hands. All right, you're in good hands. Come on, we'll take some more premiums from you. Give you nothing back. All right, guys. Well, I thank you so much for joining. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining my live today, guys. I'm home. I got to get back writing some claims. I didn't talk a whole lot about my day in my life today. Just a kind of a casual day today. But tomorrow I have a long day, a long drive again tomorrow. So I'll live stream again tomorrow. We got just one claim, but it's a long distance, and maybe I'll video that in person of what we're doing there. I think it's a fence burn. They said they had a wildfire and a burn a fence down. Nothing big. But hey, this is every day. We do the same thing, type of claims, all different types of claims every day, and we take what we get because we make money doing it, and we're helping the insured. So I'm happy. Well, thank you guys. Thank you. Appreciate all the compliments. Thank you for the likes on my screen. I only see a few likes. Like the screen, guys, and certainly, yeah, reach out to whoever will help you or talk to you guys for sure, because this is we're in this together. We're all here. Big corporate, if you think about it, big corporate's out to make money. They're not out to help the little guy. And as far as I'm concerned, insureds are all the little guys. So we independents are here to help everybody, all the little guys, do the right thing, and also hold the insurance company accountable for bad practices as much as possible. So we take care of you guys, and do our best to take care of the insureds and do a good job and do the best we can. So, all right, guys, have a great rest of the day, and be safe out there. And thanks for joining my live. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.